More than just healing all that you've lost during the time of hardship will come back to you fully. What you are experiencing might be worse. You might probably lose your mental health, properties, family, job, and so on. It also might not even be as serious as that of others, but it has consumed you psychologically. One thing you should know at this point is God is aware. You might feel alone. It might seem as if no one cares, and even those that seem to care cannot understand what you're facing. Some might assume and conclude that you're overreacting. They sometimes say, "Relax, it's not that serious." And this just makes you feel like they're playing down what you find a big challenge. Many may turn their backs on you because of how busy they are, but God's arms are always wide open to comfort you and reassure you that all will be well. God will never leave you nor forsake you. You should also know that the devil is there making you think that the end of the world has come for you, or that you're not valuable to anyone. No one can help you and you cannot help yourself. The devil comes to you with thoughts like these, but never allow him. You should shut him up just the way you would shut up someone that's saying negative and false things concerning you. I'd love to describe the devil as a dog. A dog sometimes comes around you to disturb you or to pick something up, but the dog will remain there as long as you're at ease with it being there. The moment you aggressively shout at it to get out, it would flee immediately without hesitating. Command that devil to get out of your mind, and you'll realize that those wrong thoughts will cease. He doesn't have any authority to determine how your life will turn out, which is why he often feeds you with evil thoughts so that you can agree with them. And when you do so, your life begins to play out that way. There's an ability of God to restore to you all that you've ever lost. To restore means to bring back a former state. It also involves getting back all that was lost in the past. This might sound impossible to you. You might feel what you're going through is a lesson from God. That is a lie, because you are a child of God, and God would not afflict you and enjoy seeing you in pain. It's the devil that causes pain, and God will never use the tools of the devil such as sickness, depression, poverty, and so on to teach his children. The longer you think that God is punishing you, the longer you'll stay in that problem, because no one wants ever to be against what they consider to be God's will. But guess what? God is trying to make you realize that He is not behind your pain, because that consciousness is the first step to your deliverance. The enemy will give you the impression that you caused the problem yourself, that you probably were the cause of your problem, and now you feel God is against you. One thing you should know about God is that God is never on the side of right or wrong. He is always on the side of His children. God is never against His own, so you might have caused the problem, but God is here to help you out by bringing you total restoration. You might feel you don't deserve it. None of us is deserving of God's love and restoration. We are not qualified on our own, but the sacrifice of Jesus has qualified us before God. Now, God's love for you is unconditional, regardless of your actions. Therefore, open up your heart to the restoration that He is bringing your way during this period. That situation might not look like one that can be restored. For example, you lost your property or a relative. God can do all things, and He can bring you restoration even in cases like this. You can experience the perfect peace of God that'll take your mind off all the trouble. God is turning that very situation for your good today. He is restoring your peace, your mental health, your physical health, and even your relationships. God is sending good people your way to make up for those that you've lost. You will be 100 times better than you were before this affliction. You're getting a better job. That opportunity is coming back to you, and your relationship is in the hands of God. God is a God of restoration. God's restoration is different from man's restoration. When God restores, it is always different from when man restores. When man restores, it's never the same. Just like when you carry your bad clothes and give them to a tailor, he might try to patch them, but they'll never be the same as the original. When God restores, it is always greater in quality and quantity. God always reserves the best for the latter. So it doesn't matter how much you've lost or what you've lost. You can still rejoice in the restoring power of our God. He can restore and mend your life back today. When you go out there on the street, you'll meet people who have given up on life. You meet people who were involved in a terrible past that's not even worth speaking about. You meet people crying in hopelessness and waiting for their death. Some of them even see it as better to die than to suffer what they're facing for this long. Some situations caused the sins of the people themselves. Some are breeding bitterness and hatred for their loved one because they've been left on the streets with no help. Many of them have lived in regret all their life. But if only they had known that God can restore and mend their lives back into the right peace. God can restore, and He's saying to you that total restoration is your portion. When God restores a broken life, He restores not the same, but more than the original, which is 120% restoration. That when you see your life after the restoration has been completed, you'll never imagine that you're the same person. Just like the Word of God says that God can raise the poor from the dunghill and make them sit among the princes. God can change your story in a moment, just like Job. You just have to be patient. You might be suffering now, but total restoration is coming to you. Job's story was for 9 months. He was suffering for 9 months, trusting in God for his life. In a split second, he saw everything he'd lost. His family was gone, his resources gone also immediately. But the Word of God says we know the patience of Job and the end of God's heart toward him, that God was merciful and compassionate to him. God restored to Job all that he'd lost and restored him double. The double restoration was his portion, and that's what God has in plan for you. You don't have to worry and fret again. God is crowning you with a double for your shame. Just relax, because God is working things out in your favor. God can turn things for your good what the enemy meant for evil. Let go of the fear, because your victory is here. In response to this victory, you should now live like the victorious one that you are. Keep praising God for what He has done in your life. Things might not look like it yet, but God has done it, and that joy is the ticket you require to collect the total restoration that your Father has brought your way.